Hello, everybody. Nice to be back. Nice to see you. I'm a little late, so I do apologize, but we are going to get right into this. Last night, we started looking at this online curation, online exclusive auction by Christie's Geneva, where they have a lot of interesting pieces, some that can possibly be targets of opportunity, others as overpriced and out of reach as ever. But we'll dig right into it. I'm going to start from somewhere near the end this time, but I'm going to post a link as well. So if you want to divert my attention to a certain piece, if you want to send in the lot number, feel free to do that. Feel free to do that with a super chat. Otherwise, I will kind of go my way. We're looking at lot number 457. This is a Chopard St. Moritz, which is the precursor to the Alpine Eagle as they have it these days. The design remains fairly similar. There were a few reasons why they had to let the St. Moritz name go. I think they wanted something a little more fresh, maybe a little more topical. The whole company has actually a lot of investment and a very, well-directed investment in making things sustainable, being environmentally friendly. So they actually um, use this Alpine Eagle branding because they do some charity work around that. But more importantly, because they realized that they were paying too much in the way of royalties to the municipality of Resort Town, um, the town of St. Moritz. And in the meantime, in the hiatus that this particular model has experienced within Chopard's production, they actually um, realized that St. Moritz went and made an arrangement with another watchmaker, and they couldn't actually use that name anymore. So they came up with a new name. But the St. Moritz is basically the neo vintage version of today's Alpine Eagle. It has pretty much the same outlines, and here it is actually in a chronograph version, very similar to, in terms of the functionality, to the Mille Miglia chronographs that Chopin makes still to this day. And as you can see, it has a transparent case back, which in the style of old has just what I assume is a tungsten rotor weight. And I'm pretty sure, like 90% sure, that this was built on the Frédéric Piguet 1185 movement, which was widely outsourced and used by Audemars Piguet and Vacheron Constantin, among others. Of course, Blancpain as well, um, since Frédéric Piguet's son was himself quite essential to the revival of Breguet, Jacques Piguet specifically, in collaboration with Jean-Claude Biver, and also ultimately within the Swatch Group reign the Frédéric Piguet caliber manufacture was integrated into Blancpain in the same way that Nouvelle Le Magna became Breguet. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm just realizing that I didn't turn on my mic properly, so I apologize. Should sound a little better now. So this is the Chopard St. Moritz chronograph in stainless steel. The reference number is 268352 at lot number 457. The piece has not yet attracted any bids. Starting bid is right around $5,550. Lot 453 is a version of the Ingenieur that should be quite relevant. The Ingenieur came back in true form, this Watches and Wonders, in versions that were much more reminiscent of the original steel line Jumbo, but there were actually many different iterations of the Ingenieur that had been part of the IWC lineup for quite some time. And they, in fact, made a lot of interesting collaborations with AMG previously. And here you see a chronograph that has this proper engraving on the back, recognizing that collaboration between IWC and Mercedes AMG. It is an Ingenieur chronograph fashioned fully out of titanium with that porthole style bezel with the 5 recesses that in this case actually align quite perfectly, which is not something that the older versions of the Ingenieur were necessarily designed to do. And you actually have a design on the dial that's quite reminiscent of this collaboration, quite evocative, I should say, in terms of emphasizing that sort of dashboard aesthetic, the 12 to 6 with the chronograph registers. At 6, you have continuous running seconds. And at 12, you actually have a 30-minute totalizer, a lot of red accents, and a tachymeter on the periphery of the dial as well. The centrally deployed chronograph hand is in fire red to match the intensity of those red accents in the second counter, as well as the number 30 in the 30-minute totalizer. These are, I think, very good designs, and somehow the chronograph almost immediately fits the ethos of the Ingenieur, I think, in ways perhaps that the Royal Oak and the Nautilus don't necessarily lend themselves to. I've never been a fan of Royal Oak chronographs myself. The Nautilus chronograph, as you know, has a particular layout of that single register, of that crosshair style chronograph register, which precisely, I think, is trying to tackle that potential discomfort of having a busy dial in what has been, since its inception, a pretty plain elegant and simply beautiful watch in the way that dress watches usually are. Anyway, Ingenieur was in so many ways Janta's design for the thinking man, for the working man. So it kind of lends itself a little easier for a utilitarian complication. At least that's my opinion. At 42 millimeters with an integrated bracelet, I think this can actually be worn by a wide range of people. Probably too, too large for people who are more inclined towards the jumbo, whether we are talking about the Royal Oak, the Nautilus, and the Ingenieur itself. But in either case, I think it's a very, very nice design and an interesting watch, and usually an incredible bargain on the secondary market. Here, they listed lots 453 with no reserve, so started the auction at 1 franc, and there seems to be already quite a bit of attention. And the bidding stands right now at right around 2,220 US dollars. Again, this is exactly the kind of watch that I would recommend that you hunt on the secondary market. It's kind of a mental illusion that it started without reserve. It will probably attract even more bids with almost 1 week, an entire week remaining on the clock. So you're probably better off remaining patient and hunting for a decent example on the secondary market. These can be beautifully fitted with different kinds of bands too, like hybrid straps that kind of emphasize that sporty feel, and maybe a good solution if you don't necessarily like the integrated bracelet look or think that it makes the watch look even larger on your wrist. But in either case, this is an interesting watch, and I think one of the good bargains in this whole segment. And the fact that it is in titanium and can be matched with a full titanium bracelet is a good distinctive factor. At 452, we're looking at the IWC Da Vinci Perpetual Calendar split second chronograph. I think this is one of the most majestic watches that no one never really talks about. I recited this story so many times, perhaps, but in 1985, when IWC introduced their perpetual calendar chronograph, that was basically the first company. IWC became the first company after Patek Philippe to produce a perpetual calendar chronograph in series, right? And that was made possible by the ingenuity of Kurt Klaus in the first place, who, when he was out for a walk with his dog, came up with this solution, came up with this module that allowed IWC to build a perpetual calendar on the basis of the Valjoux 7750, on the basis of the self-winding chronograph movement, a perpetual calendar. And a perpetual calendar, and what a perpetual calendar it was, and it still is, because it is something that can be adjusted synchronically to the extent that it never shows a wrong combination of date, day, month, moon phase, and year. And it does have a 4-digit display for the year, between 7 and 8 o'clock right here, as you can see. Now, another thing happened in the meantime. IWC also, through another ingenuity, introduced what they called Doppelchronograph in 1992, which was thanks to none other than Richard Habring, who today, of course, with his wife Maria, is the proprietor of Habring 2. So in 1992, thanks to Richard Habring's module on the Valjoux 7750, they achieved to produce serially what was until then quite an exclusive property of those rarefied high horological brands in a split-second chronograph, or what the French call rattrapante. So for the 10th anniversary of IWC's Da Vinci perpetual calendar chronograph, they actually integrated these two modules. They actually combined these two modules and made this gem of a watch right here, IWC perpetual calendar split-second chronograph, which, to celebrate the 10 years of its existence, actually has 10 hands, right? 2 for the hour and minutes, 2 for the 2 chronographs, 2 for the continuous running seconds and day of the week at 9 o'clock, 2 more at 6 o'clock for the 12-hour counter, as well as the indicator for the month, 1 for the 30-minute totalizer at 12 o'clock, and another one for the pointer date at 3. And of course, it has this kind of bullhead configuration where you split the second with an extra pusher at 10 o'clock. Oftentimes, perhaps in other settings, you might see that pusher integrated into the crown, but I think this is quite nice in terms of this watch's aesthetic. And I always liked the Da Vinci as a design, because it's a very classically round case with a stepped bezel, and with the hooded lugs, it really looks like an object of art more than a simple watch. And it was decidedly not a simple watch. Hey, nice to see you guys. So IWC came out with their perpetual calendar split-second chronograph for the first time in 1995. This particular piece is from 1999, and as you can see, it comes basically as a full set. And that little capsule there, that little vial, I should say, actually contains the wheels for the next century, right? Since it has that 4-digit date display, and it is a perpetual calendar that should ideally take you into the next century after you properly adjust it. They actually provided the year indicator for the next century in this vial that your progeny might actually break and get installed. I think that was, again, an ingenious marketing ploy. Uh, and I'm not sure if it necessarily came from Günther Blümlein, but certainly is remembered with his acumen for sure. And as you can see, the case back is actually inscribed International Watch Co. Da Vinci number 489. So that's pretty cool and shows you even in serial production, these things are not everywhere all at once. Lot 452, again, so underrated, so overlooked that it hasn't yet had a bid. And with a week to go, the bidding stands. Well, the starting bid would be $4,440, just about. And these pieces are always, yeah, they present always a great deal on the secondary market. Um, Even the platinum versions of this particular reference number, which is 3751, are relative bargains. And I could not recommend them more highly. And in this case, actually, it might be an instance of getting a decent deal while no one else is looking. Because these pieces do go for, $10,000 up to maybe 15, with a full set and in great condition. This one looks the part. This one does come with box and papers, the certificate, international guarantee cards, presentation box, outer packaging, product literature. So this is one to keep an eye on because it's most certainly possibly a good deal. Looks like it could present a decent target of opportunity. Yes, it is an IWC, Eddie, and it actually, I think, yeah, in both the perpetual calendar form, perpetual calendar chronograph form, it's also pretty good. But the one that also has the split second added to it, I think is the one to go for. 3750 is the perpetual calendar chronograph. 3751 is the perpetual calendar split seconds chronograph, and you can find them in. You can certainly find the perpetual calendar chronograph in stainless steel, in addition to all the noble metals. And when it comes to the perpetual calendar split, I think it is in yellow gold. It is in platinum. Possibly, I kind of remember seeing it in pink gold, but I may have just mistaken a certain kind of patina or oxidization on yellow gold for pink. But yes, most certainly the 3750 exists in stainless steel, even on the matching bracelets. It does exist in yellow gold. It does exist in platinum. And I think the perpetual calendar split seconds chronograph, the 3751, was made in a run of 500 examples for the platinum, which I think still sell for about 25,000. Let me know if you find another perpetual calendar split second chronograph in platinum in that price range. Right next to it, we have an interesting triple calendar watch made for the Lucerne-based dealer of watches by the name of Gubelin. You have a center of the dial, by the way, that has guilloche decoration, which looks like stamping to my eyes. But the dial has a beautiful pink shade, which kind of makes up for it. The decoration, the pattern, the motif at the center of the dial is hobnail or Claude Paris. And you also have right there 2 aperture with gilt framing, with gold framing for the day of the week and month. The date is indicated around the perimeter of that center dial. Roman numerals, fine sword hands. This is a pink gold piece, a pretty decent dress piece at 36 millimeters, apparently from the 90s, with a matching pink gold Gubelin buckle in a pretty decent condition too, even though it seems like it has seen some polish. This piece is also one of those that started without reserve at 1 franc. And bidding currently stands at around 1,220 in US dollars. And that is lot 451. Hey, Eddie, have I ever considered working in the watch industry? Whether in the AD or the gray markets? That's a no on both accounts. I've done a lot of sales jobs in my youth, and I absolutely detest it. So I could not possibly do that, even if it is for a product that I actually love and adore. I don't have a problem with, working in some capacity with a vintage watch dealer, I guess. Maybe not necessarily in a sales position. But all of that being said, I think at this stage, I would probably prefer, I wouldn't sell myself short. Let me put it this way. I would probably shoot for a position that would actually make the best of my skills and expertise. And that should be an executive position, not necessarily one of a salesperson. No offense. Again, I've done those kinds of jobs in my youth, but I'm getting a little longer in the teeth. So I need something higher than that to entice me to work for someone else rather than myself. Lot number 454 is Glashütte Original limited edition platinum perpetual calendar in their Senator case. This is the presentation box, by the way. I believe Swatch Group acquired Glashütte Original around 2000, but this is something that may have slipped through the cracks. I think it's right after the acquisition, like 2001, 2002. It's a limited edition of a perpetual calendar that has a moon phase indicator as well, 5 atmos of a depth rating, 50 meters of water resistance in a platinum case, which I believe is, all right, almost 40, right? 39.5 with a matching platinum double déployant clasp. That's one of my pet peeves. If you haven't yet recognized, brands serving, white gold um, clasps or buckles with platinum watches. I don't know. I will never understand that. But in this case, you have everything in platinum from Glashütte. You actually have a cabochon there on the crown. The watch is quite well worn, but seemingly unpolished, which I actually prefer. And I love the fact that you have the radial brushing on the hour track, which is very austerely laid down with applied stick markers. Again, fine sword hands. The oversized date indicator at 4 o'clock. The aperture for the moon phase as an arc between 7 and 8. And you also have between 2 and 3 an opening for the month, and 9 and 10 an opening for the dates. You have the gadroons as the guilloche decoration at the center of the dial, and a very discreet porthole-like opening, which is day-night indicator. And that's, of course, very practical for adjustments, because as you know, around midnight, these complications are somewhat cursed. So you better not touch them to correct them or to adjust them. You have to wait until the wee hours of the morning. Joking aside, unless you are talking about very state-of-the-art, newly designed calibers, like the Andreas Strehler designed caliber for the Mosa Perpetual 1, or Stephen McDonald's design for the Evo Perpetual that he did for Max Büsse and friends. Classic perpetual calendar complications or triple calendar complications are a little bit finicky like that. So you are advised not to mess around with them, say between 10 and 4 o'clock. But around midnight, just as a rule of thumb, is a good principle to have. It can always wait until the morning. One of 50 pieces with the original presentation material, including the box and papers. This is a platinum Senator perpetual calendar by Glashütte Original with the moon phase indicator. Number 29 out of 50. The piece has not yet attracted any bids at lot 444, but starting bid would be right around $8,880. Lot 442 is another Glashütte Original watch. This is actually a chronograph. The Pano Retro. It's a flyback chronograph at that. You actually have this scale. I think let's see if we can, if I can find a video that I can show you how it operates. This is interesting because Stefan Kudoke actually played a role in designing this chronograph, which he carried over in terms of design elements to some of his own watches. It's very interesting because it has that extra pusher for what they call a Rückzähler, right? Kind of like a countdown timer that it shows on that off-center primary dial. A very interesting movement. It's beautiful to look at as well. In terms of its architecture, even if it might not be finished to the level that you associate, say, with Erlang und Söhne, it's still quite impressive, technically speaking. And you have the start-stop here and the reset there. So kind of seemingly backwards, but in either case. And that minute counter was actually, in terms of that three-hander scale. Let me pull that back up again. So certainly an impressive watch in 18 karat white gold, again in that Goldilocks size of 39.5. You have three hands of varying lengths to show the minutes on this fan-like scale, which serves as the minute totalizer, 30-minute totalizer, or 30-minute counter if you want it. And this serves as the countdown timer, right? Where the seconds actually, the centrally deployed seconds hand here actually goes in the reverse direction. Pardon me. So the Pano Retrograph is certainly a cool watch, and it's not something, again, that tries to be something else or tries to copy someone else's watch. So certainly one of the more interesting pieces made by Glashütte Original, one of 150, by the way. That was a limited edition as well. This particular version is 147 out of 150. And it is quite a beautiful piece also in this relatively monochromatic appearance. White gold with a silver dial. blued hands. I think it's a very good looking watch. A flyback chronograph, a hand wound flyback chronograph with a countdown timer and a fan like scale for the 30-minute totalizer. This is the Glashütte Panoretrograph 1 of 150 at lot number 443. Again, with a week to go, this is one of the other watches that have not yet attracted any bids. Christie's watches online, the Geneva edit, but the starting bid would be in excess of 13,300 in US dollars. Please hit the like button. It really, really is a great help as I'm trying to expand the community that we are building here. I really appreciate your help in doing that. If you share the content with others, I would appreciate that even more. But in either case, please sit back and enjoy for the time being. We are talking about the Christie's online Geneva Edit watches auction. If you have any questions about any of the lots that I didn't talk about yet or that I skipped over, please don't hesitate to send in the lot number. Here's the link if you would like to do that. And I'm kind of working my way backwards from the end. I've also discussed a lot of the watches from the beginning yesterday nights, but let's focus on an absolute icon. This is the Hoya Monaco reference 1133B. This is the watch that Steve McQueen wore when he was filming Le Mans. And the Monaco, when it came out, was in fact the first waterproof integrated self-winding chronograph in the world. So in so many ways, it is quite iconic. And here you can see it in its full glory in stainless steel on its bracelet. Tool number 33, pretty early in the production as far as I can ascertain. This is 1970s after all. No box or papers, for better or worse. The crown at 9 o'clock was a marketing ploy at the time by Hoya. When they introduced their series of self-winding chronographs, they shifted the crowns from 3 o'clock to 9 and used that in their advertising campaign by specifically pointing out, we moved the crown out of your way because you never have to wind these watches, right? They wind themselves as long as they are on your wrist. They charge up with your movement, with your kinetic energy. A pretty good way of alerting people to the innovation that these pieces brought in the early 70s. Of course, it helped that they managed to put it on the wrist of a watch guy and of the king of the cool, Steve McQueen, even though he remained quite loyal to Rolex Submariners in his private life and much of anywhere else. He wore this chronograph for the filming of that cult movie Le Mans. And here is an early example of the Hoya Monaco in stainless steel, reference 1133B at lot 442. The bidding currently stands at $6,660. At 444, you have another example of the Hoya Monaco, this time the reference 1133. You have a gray dial with that is vertically brushed, a 30-minute counter at 3, and date at 6. This is, of course, a little different from the classic look, which privileges the blue dial, and which, of course, also has the 12-hour counter at 9 o'clock. Instead of that, here you have an off-center continuous running seconds and the red accents for the hour and minutes hand, as well as the centrally deployed chronograph hand, which are all in red or accented in red. In this case, you also get a presentation box, and I find it quite interesting that this piece is also engraved in the same way, tool number 33. So I'm guessing these watches were made, bought by, acquired, or given to the same person. This particular example of the 1133, which started this auction with no reserve at lot 441, is currently being bid at in excess of $1,776 US. Lot 440 is a 3-register Hoya chronograph. Again, another piece from the 70s inscribed in the same way as tool number 033. This one has a little more of a traditional look in the sense that it has the 3 registers with the 12-hour counter at 12, no date, running seconds at 9 o'clock, and a 30-minute totalizer at 3. This is the reference 73633B. Which followed upon the original 1133B, and it is quite collectible and desirable in its own way. Hoya Monaco stainless steel chronograph, reference 73633, 3 registers, no date at lot 440. The starting bid is right around $400. sorry, 4,440 US dollars. Hey, John D. Nice to see you, man. Now, for a good stretch here, for about half a dozen watches, you have pieces that are mostly associated with Perpetuel. And Perpetuel is like a watch store from the Arabian Peninsula. I wanna say they're in the Emirates. I think in Dubai. I was just calming myself. Um, and they collaborate a lot with various brands, usually micro brands, to get limited edition versions made for them. And as you can see, you have their collaborations with Baltic, both for chronographs and a three-hander, and then also with Hoffman, which is a brand, I think, founded in New York, but the watches are made in China, if I'm not mistaken. So let's start with the Baltic. We'll get back to the two versions of the MR01 in a minute. Here, you have the titanium piece by Baltic for Perpetuel, one of 71, with this two-tone dial in black and salmon. The hour track is radially grain brushed, and it's like a salmon tinted hour track, leaf shaped hands, and a sweep center seconds hand, crosshair laid out in, once again, in salmon at the center of the dial. The watch is double branded, Baltic and Perpetuel. You also have a kind of sector dial like appearance to the whole affair as well. So a watch that kind of has the look of a classic dress watch and field watch, but certainly has its own air, especially thanks to the Eastern Arabic numerals. The piece is engraved on the back to commemorate this edition with the logo of the Perpetuel, as well as the number of this particular watch in the series. Baltic is assembled in France, even though it largely uses Chinese-made calibers, Seagull specifically. And here's the presentation box for this particular model with the original leather strap. This is the Baltic for Perpetuel in a 38 millimeter titanium case, made for the 50th anniversary of the UAE, with Perpetuel in Dubai in 71 examples. This is one of the pieces that started at 1 franc without reserve, but is already being bid at 1,110 US dollars. Next up, you have the same color scheme for the chronograph. Again, black dial with salmon or copper accents, with a slightly domed crystal for that vintage feel. It's again number 4 out of 71 with its presentation box. These Baltic chronographs are basically special editions of their bicompacts, which usually sell for around $600, I want to say. And they are built on the ST 1901 caliber from Chinese manufacturer Seagull. And that is basically built on the architecture of Venus 175, which was one of the storied hand-wound calibers for especially the 60s. Again, a limited edition, one of 71, number 4 of 71 for this titanium limited edition chronograph by Baltic, made for Perpetuel in the bicompacts style, in the style of 2 registers, black dial with copper accents and Eastern Arabic numerals. This piece at lot 436 started without reserve and is currently being bid at around 666 in US dollars. Please hit the like button. I really appreciate it. If you have enjoyed the show so far, if you have learned something from it, please do so. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. It's well appreciated, and I'm here every day with more watch content, so you won't regret it. We are looking at lot 437 of the Watches Online, the Geneva edit. Organized by Christie's in Geneva, an online exclusive auction that's going to conclude at the end of the month. Lot 437 is another limited edition. This time it is a 2-tone green dial, again with Eastern Arabic numerals, a hand-wound chronograph built on that base of ST 1901, the Venus 175 clone made in China. This is again number 4 of 71, this time in stainless steel. Very classic proportions for the 38 millimeter case. And of course, the Baltic compacts is also a relatively thin watch, thanks to the hand-wound chronograph caliber inside, with that slightly domed crystal. It actually is about 12 millimeters, which is relatively slim. And they use, by the way, a Hasselite crystal as well. So for that old school feel and the distortion that it introduces, as you can even see here on the edges, I think it's a pretty interesting piece. Once again, it comes with its original presentation box and documents. This is lot 437. It is also being bid at right around 666 in US dollars. You also have those two Hoffman chronographs. Made by that New York-based but made in China brand, Hoffman, for the Perpetuel Gallery in an edition of 50 pieces. This particular one has a Bahraini emblem and carries their national colors with the Arabic word for happiness, as-sa'ada. The piece is in stainless steel, 40 millimeters. I believe in a way very similar to the Baltic. The Hoffman is also largely assembled in China, even though Baltic is finished in France, basically. Hoffman's chronographs, as far as I know, are actually built on mecha quartz chronograph movements, the Seiko VK64. So what you have there is a continuous running seconds at 9 o'clock, and actually a 24-hour indicator at 3 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken. No, wait a second. This is actually a hand-wound piece. Okay, so this must be different in that case. What's the caliber in these? Interesting. Okay, it does say movement is manual. So let's look more carefully inside that. It comes with the Perpetuel case. This does look like the Seagull ST1901 to me. Yeah, I think so. This is the mechanical version, and it has to be the Seagull because that's what it exactly looks like, which of course looks like the Venus 175 as well, which was the beating heart of the Navitimer reference 806 for most of its existence. So my apologies. The piece actually has a continuous running seconds at 9 o'clock and a 30-minute totalizer at 3 o'clock. And of course, a centrally deployed chronograph seconds hand as well. 40 millimeter stainless steel case, sapphire crystal. This is the Bahrain edition, basically, one of 50 with a red dial, a Bahrain emblem, and the Arabic word for happiness. It's lot 438, which started without reserve and is currently being bid at around $330. And at 439, you actually have Qureshi Hawk emblem, the UAE coat of arms, and at-tasamuh, which is the Arabic word for tolerance, with a salmon colored dial. Once again, a hand wound movement in a 40 millimeter stainless steel case. The ST1901, Chinese made but inspired by the legendary Venus 175 column wheel chronograph movement. The piece comes with its own slipcase, but also a perpetual presentation box as well. Again, one of only 50 pieces. And once again, this is number 4 out of 50. Just like the other Hoffman, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And this particular piece, which is the UAE edition for the Hoffman Racing 40, stainless steel chronograph in 40 millimeters with a hand wound seagull chronograph movement, salmon dial with the UAE coat of arms and the Arabic word for tolerance. The current bid stands at 400 Swiss francs, which is in excess of $440. There are also 2 versions of Baltic's dress watch, which, has been quite a big hit for them. I think they sell out quite quickly whenever they come back in stock. And they are usually offered in this kind of silver dial, salmon, and also an additional navy dial. I think they might, next time it comes out, introduce a new dial color. I'm not too sure about that, but I think they are coming back in stock on their website at the beginning of June. So take a look at that. But until then, Christie's Watches Online has one at lot 434. This is apparently the prototype 000. These pieces actually have self-winding micro rotor caliber by Hangzhou, again a Chinese manufacturer, caliber 5000A, with a power reserve of 42 hours. The cases are 36 millimeters with a lug width of 20 millimeters, so quite versatile if you want to change around your straps. And including the crystal, it's right under 10 millimeters thick, so in so many ways perfect dress watch proportions, with this textured salmon dial at the center, an off-center subsidiary dial for the seconds, applied Breguet numerals for the indices, and leaf-shaped hands for the hour and minutes. This watch you're looking at is actually the prototype, apparently number 0. And it's quite an intriguing piece and has proved to be quite popular indeed. And this auction offers you the chance to bid on the prototype at lot number 434. It was listed without reserve, so started bidding at 1 franc, but currently the bidding stands at around $555 with about a week to go. At 433, we have the Baltic MR01 in an early production number, apparently, 008. This is once again a dress watch that is right around 10 millimeters thin, 36 millimeters in stainless steel. Here with a textured center dial in silver, an off-center seconds dial, leaf-shaped hands, and applied Breguet numerals for the hour markers. Once again, this piece is built on that caliber 5000A, which is made by the Hangzhou manufacturer in China, a self-winding caliber with a micro rotor. These pieces again sell for around 600 US dollars, 545 in euro when they come out. And I think they're coming back in stock on June 1st on Baltic's website. So do check it out. I think they allow you to drop in your email address, so they will email you back once these are in stock. Here at lot 433, you have an example with the silver dial of the Baltic MR01, which is currently being bid at around 222 in US dollars. No, he's not banned at all. He's not banned at all, but also probably not. But thanks for the suggestion, G. Lot number 416 is a limited edition Ulysse Nardin perpetual calendar dual time watch in platinum from around 2000s in a 40 millimeter case that is pretty traditionally designed, perfectly round with slightly extended stepped lugs that have that subtle droop. A very nicely attired self-winding movement, as you can see from the back. The original presentation box as well. The piece has a big date indicator at right around 1 o'clock. A subsidiary dial for the seconds at 9. All right, now I'm a little confused. Wait. My bad, guys. Which one is which? All right. Well, my apologies because I can't figure out immediately which two register is the date, which one is the 2-digit year. So I'll have to take a pass on that. But you have beautiful feuille-shaped and loomed heat-blued hands for the hour and minutes, and also a heat-blued hand for the seconds as well, and an additional 24-hour hand with a loomed arrow tip that does have an heat-blued frame, a wave pattern guilloche at the center of the dial to fit with that nautical theme of Ulysse Nardin. This is lot number 416 for a limited edition platinum perpetual calendar dual time watch by Ulysse Nardin. $40mm, comes with a white gold Ulysse Nardin déployant clasp, as well as its presentation box and outer packaging. The reference number is 329-80. Lot number 416 is currently being bid at around $8,880. At 414, we have another Ulysse Nardin limited edition. This one is styled after the marine chronometers of old, and it is actually a 43mm, slightly oversized yellow gold case that is itself perfectly round, with a bezel that is fluted on the outside, coin edged, so to speak. This was a limited edition released to celebrate the 160th anniversary of the Le Locle based manufacturer, Ulysse Nardin. It has a power reserve indicator at 12 o'clock that's beautifully framed, a continuous running seconds in an oversized subsidiary dial at 6, with a porthole-like opening for the date. The pieces is also a certified chronometer and has this style of hooded lugs, which make it a very interesting beast. I think the closest design that has a similar kind of lineage to this particular piece, Ulysse Nardin's marine chronometer, is of course the Breguet Marine, which practically has the same case design, maybe a little more tricked out, a little more jewelry like, and with those fancy propeller looking crown guards. But this is, I think this came before the new generation of the Breguet Marine. So that's a little bit interesting there in terms of the design inspiration. Roman numerals on the dial and heat-blued hands. Comes with a matching yellow gold déployant strap from early 2000s. One of only 160 pieces, up to 100 meters of water resistance. And the piece is actually numbered on a plaque screwed on the left flank of the case as well, which is a nice touch. Some might find it perhaps a little too showy, but I think the piece looks remarkably like an instrument that such decoration would actually be fitting in a very different way. As you can see, has a kind of step dial too, with a nice slope on that chapter ring that adds some dimensionality to the dial. And there's a magnifier for that porthole indicator for the dates as well. A very unique and interesting design. The Marine chronometer that was released by Ulysse Nardin in 160 examples for their 160th anniversary in yellow gold, 43 millimeters. This piece is listed at lot number 414 at the Watches Online, the Geneva edit by Christie's, and the bidding right now is right around 3,330 in US dollars. I'm going to take a short break and I'll be right back. I'll be back momentarily. Take a look at this Zenith El Primero chronograph, 1/10 of a second. As I take that break, please hit the like button if you haven't done so already. I'll be back. All right. We're looking at the Christie's online auction that is concluding at the end of the month, is being run out of Geneva. Here is lot 400, which is a limited edition Zenit El Primero chronograph. That comes with its box and papers, with a warranty card dated back to 2015, the product literature, as well as 3 details of servicing in 2018, 2022, and 2023. Wow. That actually sounds bad. Usually when you have record of service in a full set watch, it should be reassuring. But the fact that this watch went to service 3 times in the 7 years of its existence, 3 times since 2018 in the last 5 years, that's not reassuring at all. What was wrong with it? So strange. But this is actually a special edition, one of 500, number 239 of 500, for Jean-Louis Etienne. And the 1/10 of a second is, of course, about that centrally deployed chronograph hand, which makes a revolution around the dial in 10 seconds. This is the Jean-Louis Etienne 1/10 of a second Zenit El Primero chronograph from 2015, which at lot number 400 was being bid at without reserve and is currently trending right around 3,100 in US dollars. My apologies, I'm a little out of it today. But we are here. Lot 399 is another stainless steel example of the Zenit El Primero chronograph. This is an edition called Heritage, again from the 2010s, with a blue sunburst dial, no 12-hour counter, with a tachometer around the periphery of the dial, leaf-shaped hands, continuous running seconds at 9 o'clock, and a 30-minute totalizer at 3, much more stripped down and much more austere looking than your average El Primero. That's why it is named Heritage, because it is perhaps as close as a Zenith chronograph gets to that classic bicompax two-register look. Of course, with the Zenith El Primero movement powering it, self-winding, one of the first, if not the first, self-winding integrated chronograph movement in the entire world. Beautiful blue dial. Beautiful in its simplicity. The piece actually does come with the full set of its accessories, including a USB drive, product literature, and its presentation box. Actually, there are no papers included, so that's something that should be noted. 38 millimeter case in stainless steel with a matching Zenith buckle as well in stainless steel. At lot 399, this piece is currently being bid at in excess of 1,550 in US dollars. At 398, we have a slightly more feminine version of the Zenith El Primero chronograph. This is a 38 millimeter case in pink gold that is set with diamonds in the factory, on the bezel and on the lugs. I believe also on the case band too. And the piece has a mother of pearl dial, which is diamond set at the factory as well, with brilliant diamonds as the hour markers. Triple register in the classic Zenith layout of their high beat caliber. Continuous running seconds at 9, 12-hour counter at 6, and a 30-minute totalizer at 3, with an aperture for the dates between 4 and 5 o'clock. Zenith El Primero high beat chronograph in a feminine presentation, 38 millimeter pink gold case, set with diamonds and a mother of pearl dial as well, which has diamond hour markers. This piece does come with its presentation box as well as its accessories, but once again, no papers included. A very unusual but rather elegant execution of the high beat self-winding chronograph by Zenith, up to 30 meters of water resistant, which means it's splash proof. Wash your hands. Maybe don't wash the dishes. Maybe take it off before cooking. But still, it should get you through the rigors of most of the day. A little too bejeweled for me, but it can be good on someone else. This piece has not attracted any bids yet at lot number 398, but the starting bid would be right around $5,550. At lot 397, we have a very interesting rectangular watch by Omega. The case diameter is 30 by 45.5 in 14 karat yellow gold and with a very unique two-tone red dial. I think it is a wooden dial with some sort of lacquered finish. And the only way I can tell it's lacquered is really from the cracks. You know, this is the kind of dial that some vintage dealers are trying to sell as a spider dial, as you can see. I believe this is a piece from the Constellation series, but I'm not sure. If memory serves, this should be a Constellation. At any rate, it's an interesting and rather odd, but also quite rare yellow gold wristwatch in rectangular shape by Omega in 14 karat yellow gold with a two-tone kind of reddish wooden dial. Reference 8359. It comes with a presentation box. So far, lots 397 has not attracted any interests, but the starting bid would be in excess of 5,500 US dollars. Lot 394, we have yet another unusual Omega piece. This is an Omega perpetual calendar. Louis Brandt. Louis Brandt was one of the founders of the brand. And in its history, Omega has dedicated a couple of special editions to him, especially these kinds of dressier pieces. A rather balanced look in a 34 millimeter yellow gold case with an opaline white dial. Moon phase at 6 o'clock, pointer date at 12, day of the week at 3, and the month indicator encircling the leap year indicator at 9 o'clock. Applied Roman numerals and a beaded minute track. Very classic dress watch look with the Louis Brandt signature right under the moon phase, along with the letter Omega and the brand signature itself. You can take a peek at the caliber in the back. The piece is actually inscribed for someone. Thank you for your support, Michael. Just give me a sec. Okay, I'm back. Thank you for your patience, guys. I believe this is an ETA movement, probably the 2890 with a perpetual calendar module, the heat blut screws, the Côte de Genève on the bridge plates, and the perlage on the base plates are nice details that you don't always see in most Omega movements. The winding rotor is also decorated with Geneva stripes and partially open worked to put that Omega logo into sharp relief. And the case is quite well preserved with the hallmarks rather crisp. This is the Omega Louis Brandt perpetual calendar in a 34 millimeter yellow gold case with a moon phase and leap year indicator. At lot number 394, the piece is being bid at right around 3,000 Swiss francs, and that is equal to 3,330 in US dollars. Lot number 392 is a pre-moon Omega Speedmaster from around 1969. As you can see, even though it is a Speedmaster Professional and has that larger 42 millimeter case with the lyre-shaped lugs, it still has the hippocampus engraving on the back of the watch rather than the commemoration of the moon landing, which was part of the rebranding, of course, after 1969. The piece has seen better days, but has a look that gives it a certain vintage charm. I think it's rather undeniable. The reference number is 145022-69 ST, all in stainless steel in the 42 millimeter case with the then new 861 caliber, 17 jewels, brass plated. This is lot number 392 for a pre-moon piece, Omega Speedmaster Professional with the 42 millimeter lyre lock case in stainless steel and the matching bracelets on what was the new caliber 861 as its hand wound chronograph movements. Lot 392 has not yet attracted any bids, but the starting bid would be in excess of 6,660 US dollars. We have some interesting watch paraphernalia, which I want to take a look at. 391 is the ever popular François Paul action figures by Bait in collaboration with FP Jean. Apparently, these depict a young François Paul and François Paul in his years of mastery, so to speak. And they do actually come with the entire line of FP Jean watches. As you can see, you have the Octa Calendrier, you have the chronomètre à résonance, you have the FFC, the one that was made in collaboration with Francis Ford Coppola and has just been introduced into the regular line. Octa Réserve de Marche, the flyback chronograph, Octa chronograph. These are very cool and cute, but once again, something that sells well over the retail price. And at lots 395, the bidding currently stands at around 2,220 US dollars. This is what it says. The present lot is offered in like new overall condition. There's a young François Paul vinyl model as he embarks in building his brand 20 years ago, and another that is meant to depict the watchmaker today. The present lot is accompanied by 7 small replicas, including the Francis Ford Coppola FP Jean only watch FFC blue prototype chronomètre bleu, and the complete set of the 5 FP Jean subscription watches. Notably, these can all be worn by the figurines interchangeably. Great. I have to admit, it's kind of adorable. So that was lot 391, which is already being bid in excess of 2,200 in US dollars. At 390, there's a very nice wooden 8-watch case by the Italian maker Scatola del Tempo with a burl wood exterior and 4 watches in each parts. 4 with pillows, 4 without. These are really high quality and classy boxes. Sometimes you can find some of this stuff, especially the more standard leather ones, quite attractively priced on eBay, but new
they are quite expensive. And here at lot 390, there are already several bids on this piece, and the bidding stands right around 555 in US dollars. Lot 385 is a Rolex display desk clock, time to the second, with its own presentation box, apparently with a stop feature. For the second, to demonstrate, or rather highlight, the precision, the chronometric aspirations of a Rolex watch. This is lot 385, a Rolex desk clock, gilt brass and green painted in the proprietary colors of the maker. There are no bids on this lot yet, lot 385, but the starting bid would be in the range of 8,880 in US dollars. There's another gilt brass display desk clock with that time to the second feature, which has a wooden dial, but the look of Rolex root beer, so to speak, with the bezel and the dial reflecting that's captivating color. This is reference 455, apparently, based on a quartz caliber. The starting bid is right around 6,660 in US dollars. Lot 383 is another desk clock, this time by F. Bejon, with its presentation box and documents. It's an table alarm clock made out of brass in the styling of chronomètre Souverain, maybe, even though, of course, it lacks both the power reserve indicator and the off-center seconds, but that's quite expected. It does have that additional hand to set the alarm. Quartz movement, predictably. Lot 383 is currently being bid at almost around 2,000 US dollars. At 383, we actually have a hand-wound Jaeger-LeCoultre desk clock, golf themed, with the dial even playing with that golf theme itself, out of brass and stainless steel. This piece is currently being bid at quite heavily at lot number 382. And the bidding stands in excess of 2,220 in US dollars. There are a few very interesting Cartier watches. There's the Ellipse Gondole, which actually looks very much like the model that stands next to it. The Ceinture, which is kind of designed to look like a belt buckle, and so does the Ellipse Gondole, but in a way, of course, this is a more elliptical shape, and that's the primary difference. It is one of those unusually shaped Cartier watches that are bound to garner some interest, even if it is a niche interest. In this case, this is a 32 millimeter yellow gold watch with a hand-wound movement. The crown with the beaded grip is topped off with the sapphire cabochon. The case remains very healthy, with all the hallmarks and engravings quite crisp. And it is matched with a Cartier déployant clasp in the same yellow gold. This piece at lot number 379 is currently being bid at around 2,440 US dollars. And here's another unique Cartier model that's not currently in the line, but it's quite lovely, with a silver dial, elongated Roman numerals for the hour markers, railroad track for the minutes, and the unique belt buckle-like case shape serving as a crown guard as well. Heat blued sword hands for beautiful legibility. The case is very well preserved with all the hallmarks and embossed numbers as well. And the engravings of the brand, of course, Cartier Paris. The piece is from the 70s, rather diminutive at 27 millimeters. It has a hand-wound caliber in yellow gold, matched with an 18-karat yellow gold Cartier déployant buckle. This is the Cartier Ceinture. I think this will probably be one of the next to be all the rage. Lot 378. The current bid stands right around $1,776. At lot 376, we have a yellow gold Cartier dress watch, a rectangular shape from the 70s. 22 by 28 are the dimensions. Again, stylized Roman numerals for the hour markers, radially placed, even with a reversed look for numbers 5, 6, and 7. Of course, there's a watchmaker's 4. Feuille hands, black against a champagne dial, and a blue enamel bezel that is set in that rectangular frame. This is a hand-wound rectangular dress piece from Cartier from the 70s in a 22 by 28 millimeter yellow gold case. It comes with a presentation box, red box, and lot 376 is currently being bid at in excess of $5,550 US dollars. Lot 375 is the Jaeger-LeCoultre Vogue, kind of a TV screen style watch made for Cartier and branded Cartier. This is 26 millimeters in diameter, has a lapis lazuli dial on which there is a circular hour track with Roman numerals, gold sword hands for a good contrast and maximum legibility, and sapphire cabochon on the crown for this Jaeger-LeCoultre Vogue made for and branded by Cartier. Again, very, very well preserved. And comes with an appropriate Cartier presentation box. This is the Jaeger-LeCoultre Vogue for Cartier in a TV-shaped 26 millimeter yellow gold case with a lapis lazuli dial. At lot number 375, the bidding stands right around 3,100 in US dollars. At lot 373, we have an interesting prototype watch by Cartier in stainless steel and in a round-shaped iteration of their Santos, as you can recognize probably from the bolted bezel or the bezel that is bolted down by the rivets. As you can see from the case back, the piece marks 1997, which was the 150th anniversary of Cartier. It is also inscribed test number 1. So it's a prototype in a water-resistant case with a 24 hand on a globescape subdial at 12 o'clock, a centrally deployed seconds hand, date at 3 o'clock through a porthole-like opening, and I believe a power reserve at 6 o'clock. You have a guilloche decoration at the center of the dial and the silent signature, the secret signature at 7. Of course, the watchmaker's 4. Railroad track for the minutes and seconds. Very interesting piece. A rather diminutive 33 millimeter stainless steel case, but a beautiful silver dial, which has both a 24-hour subsidiary dial as well as a power reserve indicator at 6 o'clock, a 3-hander with the dates. Lot 373 has so far failed to attract any attention, but the starting bid is right around 6,660 in US dollars. Please hit the like button if you haven't done so already. I think I should be here for a little more than an hour until my midnight. Until then, if you have any questions, please feel free to send them in, any watch-related questions whatsoever. But if you want to highlight any particular watches on this auction, if you want to direct my attention to them so that I would present them to you in more historical and horological detail, feel free to send in those lot numbers as well. I send the link into the chat if you would like to take a look at them yourself. We're looking at lot 372, which is a platinum tank from the 90s, 23 by 30 millimeters. The piece has a silvered dial decorated with the guilloche, Roman numerals, once again, the secret Cartier signature at 7 o'clock, and the watchmaker's 4. Heat blued sword hands for maximum legibility, and a sapphire cabochon on that crown with the beaded grip. Very classic piece, very classy piece in platinum. With the hand-wound movement on this beautiful platinum tank from the 90s. A 2-hander at lot 372. The piece is currently being bid at around 11,100 in US dollars. Lot 371 is a Cartier Santos Dumont, reference 1575, in platinum as well. This is rather small at 27 millimeter with a hand-wound caliber. The piece comes with a presentation box, it's part of the CPCP collection. I want to say the notes are actually wrong on this one, because Reference number should be a bigger size. I believe that case is a little bigger than that, but I'm not entirely sure. But this is the CPCP version in platinum with a railroad track for the minutes, silvered guilloche decorated dial with a rosette pattern that emanates from the hand stack, the secret signature at 7 o'clock, watchmakers 4 at 4, and heat blued hands for the hour and minutes. That classic aviation inspired bezel with the rivets and the more elegant, dressy shape, maybe the more rectangular and slightly more elongated shape of the Santos in the dressier version, Santos Dumont. And here you have a platinum piece with a hand-wound caliber and the full set of its accessories as an example of the private collection of Cartier Paris, which was the product of an interesting decade for the brand, where they brought together their design expertise, their catalog of iconic models into a heady mix with some up and coming high horological makers. This is the Cartier Santos Dumont from the CPCP collection. Reference number is 1575 in platinum. The bidding currently stands at around 11,100 US dollars. Lot 367 is Cartier Diabolo. This is a very interesting watch, perfectly round design with a kind of officer style case, I want to say, with the screw through lugs. In this case, you have actually something that is operated by a quartz caliber in an 18 karat yellow gold case in 31 millimeters of diameter. The piece has an opaline white dial with a gilt hour track, brilliant cut diamonds for the hour markers, gold breguet hands that match the tones of the case, and a crown topped off with encrusted diamonds as well. A very elegant but also charismatic piece. Could be a great woman's watch at 31 millimeter. This is lot number 367 for the Cartier Diabolo in a 31 millimeter yellow gold case. Diamond set for the hour markers and topped off with diamonds at the winding crown as well. This is reference 1430, which was listed without reserve and is currently being bid at lot number 367 at around 1,890 US dollars. $364 is a piece that we looked at the closing of the show yesterday night. This is lot number 364, Cartier Pasha. That is from a limited edition, one of only 20, and this is number 9 of 20 in a 35.5 millimeter white gold case in that classic expression of the Jarajanta design, with the Vendôme lugs, with the T-bar styled lugs that were originally designed by Louis Cartier, but adopted, I should say, for this model by Jarajanta himself. This particular piece has a Chanlevé enamel dial that depicts a tiger and 2 rows of brilliant cut diamonds on the bezel. Diamonds also topping off that special crown guard for the Pasha, which opens like the lid of a flask. The piece doesn't come with box and papers, but is numbered on the back as number 9 out of 20. And in Cartier's flamboyant style, the bridge plates are completely embossed by their, or excessively embossed, I should even say, with their double wishbone logo. And so is the rotor weight for the self-winding movement. In fact, the rotor weight itself is partially skeletonized to bring a larger version of that Cartier logo into sharp relief. A beautifully designed watch, and one of only 20 offered in this auction. Something that brings together Jarajanta's legendary design with the artisan crafts of Chanlevé enamel and gem setting. This is reference 2536, number 9 out of 20 in an 18 carats yellow gold case in 35.5 millimeters of diameter. Lot 364 has not yet attracted any bids, but the starting bid would be slightly in excess of 16,650 in US dollars. Lot 363 is a Pasha reference 2392. This is a 38 millimeter case in yellow gold with a rotational timing bezel, a guilloche decorated dial with a square center that is diamond set, very beautiful. Dates at around 4:30 and Arabic numerals at the quarters 12, 3, 6, and 9. The crown guard also topped off with a diamond. And the self-winding movement is decorated in the same way, embossed excessively with the wishbone logo on the bridge plates. The base plate of the movement is decorated with perlage, and the rotor weight likewise is decorated with the double wishbone logo with a larger version of it put in sharp relief through open working in the middle of the rotor weight itself. This is the Cartier Pasha in 18 karat yellow gold in a 38 millimeter case with a guilloche dial, a diamond set square at the center. A classic element of Gérard Janta's design is the interplay and the tension between different geometric shapes. In the Pasha, you have the interplay of the round case with the square center dial, which is emphatically presented here with gem setting. And I think the result is a beautiful watch that has a sense of a little bit of a quirk, a little bit of character, especially for a dress watch. This is lot 363. No one has bid on it yet, but the starting bid would be right around $8,880. Lot 361 is the sportier version of the Pasha, sportier and larger version of the watch that you have just seen, in a 40 millimeter case with a black dial. It is actually presented with the full set of its accessories, which of course include the box and papers. From 2008, you have the 40 millimeter stainless steel case with a black dial, railroad track for the minutes and seconds at that square at the center of the dial. Again, a rotational bezel, which this time can be properly called a dive timer, and a DLC coated stainless steel bracelet as well. This is a sportier version of the Cartier Pasha that's a little more oversized, that has a black dial and a matching stainless steel bracelet that matches the black dial with some DLC coating. And you have a 60 minute rotational dive timing bezel that is fully graduated for the first 20 minutes as well. The piece comes with the full set of its accessories as well as box and papers. This is the Cartier Pasha C timer in a 40 millimeter stainless steel case at lot number 361. The bidding currently stands at around $777 US. At 360, you have once again a version of the Pasha in full stainless steel. This time you have the matching bracelets that is not attired in any way. Once again, this is a time and date watch with the date window at 4:30 o'clock, stylized Arabic numerals at the quarters, which of course diverges from the norm at Cartier, where Roman numerals are often used against the background of a silver dial. The railroad track for the minutes and the seconds, and once again, those diamond-shaped or lozenge-shaped hands for a more sporty look. These hands are loomed and also heat blued as well for that additional accent. And you have a matching stainless steel bracelet, which is a look I like, but because I like the Vendôme lugs even more, I usually prefer the Pasha on a leather strap because that really accentuates those T-shaped lugs that were originally designed by Louis Cartier. But the integrated bezel look is not bad at all. I mean, but what am I saying? Not integrated, of course, but the matching bezel look, I meant to say, is not bad at all. And the piece actually comes with the full set of its accessories, including the box and papers. This is the Cartier Pasha, all in stainless steel, case and bracelets, reference 2790 at lot 360. It is currently being bid at around 777 US dollars. I'm in the last hour of the live stream, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask them now. This is lot 357. We have a Vacheron Constantin dress watch from the 50s that has these distinctive corne de vache lugs. They're placed here on the bezel that makes them look more horn-like and even like devil's horns, I want to say. The case is 35.5 millimeters in pink gold, but should wear noticeably larger thanks to those distinctive stylized lugs. The piece is really beautifully designed, front and back, including, of course, this beautiful hand-wound caliber. Stunning two-tone silver dial, which is very well preserved. Small seconds with a sector subsidiary dial, a single Arabic numeral at 12, and pencil hands for the hour and minutes. Triangular markers for the rest of the indices, including spare heads for 3 and 9 o'clock. A very beautiful and elegant hand-wound dress watch from the 50s by Vacheron Constantin, doing what they do best. A striking design with beautifully stylized lugs that resemble alternatively cows or devil's horns. This is lot 357, a piece that started the auction with no reserve, but has already attracted significant attention at lot number 357. It is currently being bid at around 4,220 US dollars. At 358, we have another Vacheron Constantin dress watch, this time from the 40s. Perfectly round in 35 millimeters, a yellow gold case with, once again, distinctly stylized lugs, this time in teardrop shape. The hand-wound caliber remains the same between the two watches, but this one actually has a sweep center second cent, which is beautifully and distinctively heat blued. Pencil hands in yellow gold, and the R markers are Arabic numerals alternating with larger gold pips. Again, very beautiful design, very elegant dress watch indeed for Vacheron Constantin with teardrop lugs from the 40s in yellow gold. Lot 358 was also a piece that started with no reserve, but is currently being bid at around 1,443 US dollars. Lot 356 is a square watch with fancy lugs by Vacheron Constantin again. It's a perfect square, 28 centimeters by 28. The piece is in pink gold, but has this lemon champagne kind of style on the dial. Small seconds at 6 o'clock. Baton hands and Roman numerals at the quarters with obus shaped indices, actually arrow shaped indices. They look like rays of the sun in a way, emanating from out of the focal points of the watch. Again, a beautiful classic Vacheron Constantin dress watch, this time in a rather diminutive form of a 28 by 28 millimeter square in pink gold. Yet again, a piece that has uniquely stylized lugs, which is in a way a signature of Vacheron Constantin. The piece is from the 40s again, and it is one of those lots that started the auction at no reserve. Lot 356, however, is currently being bid at 777 in US dollars. I think I don't actually have a lot of watches left, so I might just end a little bit early. If you want to take a look at the earlier selection of the watches, you can tune in to the episode from yesterday. If you want me to talk about any of those watches that belong to the first 150 lots or so, feel free to send in the lot number before I log off. But I should be here at least for another 15 minutes, I'm guessing. Lot 353 is Vacheron Constantin Jump Hour watch. This is also called a saltarello, but rather than that unique cushion-shaped presentation, what you have here is a 36 millimeter yellow gold case. The piece has a guilloche motif at the center, an open book style framing for the jump hour at 12 o'clock. And a pointer that revolves around the center of the dial and points the minutes on the chapter ring for the minutes. This is a self-winding caliber, which is displayed through an exhibition caseback built on the base of the ultra-thin JLC 920, which to this day remains the thinnest self-winding watch movement with a full rotor, even though it was first designed in the late 60s. The case is beautifully designed with a stepped bezel and slightly extended lugs that have that teardrop shape. Of course, the Maltese cross on the crown. And at 12 o'clock, put the finishing touches on a characterful, charismatic Vacheron Constantin jump hour piece in 36 millimeter 18 karat yellow gold case with the reference number 43040. This is lot number 353. The starting bid on this piece is right around $17,760. At lot 352, we have once again a leftover from that Jean Todt auction from last year, organized by Christie's on November 6th. It was called Legendary and Unique Watches. I'm not sure if this particular piece had actually gone on sale on that occasion, but it is almost certainly part of that offering, part of that collection. Signed JT 2004 on the caseback. All right, another news flash, guys. I noticed it now because I was double checking again. You remember we found yesterday the Parmigiani Fleurier toric in platinum with the tourbillon and the Westminster chime, as well as the GMT function, which was part of the Jean Todt collection, but was selling here. I'm just realizing now that the Omega perpetual calendar that we were looking at, the Louis Brandt, was actually Michael Schumacher's gift to Jean Todt that was sold in that previous auction, but I guess the buyer backed off somehow. As you can see, this is the piece, which sold on November 6th, 2022 for 16,380 in Swiss francs. And you will recognize it like this because it has "Thank you for your support, Michael" or Michael in the same font. And then you go back. This is lot 394 in the auction now. "Thank you for your support, Michael." So, yeah, some of those watches from the November 6, 2022 auction were clearly not claimed. Not bought. The Parmigiani was another one at lot 230. And now clearly lot 352, which is a Vacheron Constantin yellow gold chronograph in a 38 millimeter case, which is engraved on the back with JT 2004. With Claude Paris decorated dial, a 3-register look for the self-winding chronograph with the 12-hour counter at 6, 30-minute totalizer at 9, and continuous running seconds at 12, with a centrally deployed chronograph seconds hand that is heat blued for distinction. And that layout pretty much identifies the movement inside as Frédéric Piguet 1185. Lot number 352 has already attracted a couple of bids, and it is currently being bid at around 305,050 US dollars. That was reference 47,001 47001. Lot 351 is a limited edition piece by Vacheron Constantin. A platinum piece in 40 millimeters with a Guilloche dial that has a Geneva seal placed right between 4 and 5 o'clock. This is a day date, so day at 9 o'clock, date at 3 o'clock, and a power reserve at 6 o'clock. You also have a sweep center seconds hand that is heat blued very cool design on this 40 millimeter platinum case. With a self-winding movement in full gold that is also guilloche decorated. This model is one of 250, I believe, number 160, to celebrate 250th anniversary of the world's longest continuously operating watchmaker in Vacheron Constantin. This is the Vacheron Constantin Platinum Jubilee Edition, number 160 out of 252 watches. Platinum day date with a power reserve indicator. Lot 351 has not yet attracted any bids, but the starting bid would be in excess of 16,650 in US dollars. I have a couple more watches, unless you have any requests or any other questions before I leave. Maybe I will present on these three Breguets and then leave. Lot 341 is the Réveil du Tsar. This is the Breguet alarm watch at lot 345. The piece comes as a full set with its presentation box, papers, as well as the product literature. In a 40 millimeter white gold case that is styled every bit as a classic Breguet dress watch in that style, which was revived by Daniel Roth with François Baudet under the patronage of Brothers Chomet from Paris. As you can see, you have a perfectly round case that harkens back to the pocket watches that Abraham Louis Breguet made himself in that perfectly round shape. So the extended lugs that are soldered onto the case give the watch a slight feel of a conversion from pocket watch to wristwatch. You have the case band entirely fluted and very finely so. The lugs are ever so slightly extended and have this teardrop droop. In this case, you have once again a dial that is produced from a gold blank and decorated by hand guilloche. In this case, not only the hands are heat blued out of stainless steel for that elegant full legibility, you also have blue accents on the dial that includes all the numerals. There's a power reserve indicator that is placed between 10 to 12 o'clock. There's a porthole-like indicator for the alarm function to indicate whether it's on or off. a 24-hour hand at 9 o'clock, which also serves as a day and night indicator. A fan-like 30-second scale for the seconds at 6 o'clock, which also opens up to a date indicator, and the setting for a second time zone, the setting for a second sorry, I meant to say the setting for the alarm at 3 o'clock, and a handy on and off button for the alarm at 8 o'clock as well. As you can see, according to the Breguet tradition, all the subdials are decorated with a different kind of motif, both for the distinction, but also a demonstration of mastery. Very interesting piece, very unique piece, a luxurious alarm wristwatch compared to the Jaeger-LeCoultre Memovox or the Vulcain Cricket. You have here a watch that is executed a little more, I guess, luxuriously. The reference number is 5707. As you can see here, the south winding caliber is matched with white gold rotor weight that itself carries a barleycorn guilloche motif. And it has a column wheel mechanism to lock or activate the alarm, and another mechanism to coordinate the alarm with local time. A beautifully decorated caliber in that fine dress watch case of a classic Breguet piece. This is lot number 345, Breguet Le Réveil du Sar, an alarm and dual time piece, reference 5707. It is currently being bid at around 13,320 in US dollars. Number 346 is a Type 21 in pink gold. Unlike the Type 20, this is actually not a watch that has had an actual military provenance. But of course, Breguet wanted to continue and expand the line of pilots' chronographs that they had. So they came up with this particular piece, which is substantively larger than the Type 20. Type 20 is around 39 millimeters in its modern remake in a civilian edition, whereas the Type 21, I believe, is 43 millimeters, so substantively larger. Here it comes with a pink gold case. Just like the Transatlantique, this has a date window at 6 o'clock, a 24-hour hand at 3 o'clock, which replaces the minute counter. The minute counter actually is a centrally deployed fourth hand. So you have the hour, minutes, both of these are loomed, and then you have the centrally deployed chronograph seconds hand, and that extra hand with the diamond tip is actually the chronograph minutes hand, which of course counts the 60 minutes on the chapter ring, which is thus marked. So a little bit of a different feel compared to the Type 20, certainly a different feel on the wrist because the proportions are significantly different. This is a much, much larger watch. Reference 3810, that is the Type 20. Here in a 43 millimeter pink gold case with a grayish brown dial. The piece was listed without reserve at lot 346 and has attracted quite a bit of attention, and it is currently being bid at around 5,550 US dollars. All right, now we came to the last watch of the day, and we are finishing off the watches online auction in Geneva, organized by Christie's. This is your last chance if you want to ask any watch-related questions or point my attention to any one of the lots that I didn't discuss yet, that I skipped over, or that you would want me to rehearse again. Here's your chance. I'm talking about lot 347, which is a classic Breguet dress watch from the line appropriately, ever so aptly called the Classique, in a 40 millimeter yellow gold case, perfectly round with those slightly extended soldered lugs with the teardrop shape. The case band entirely and finely fluted. The domed and rather substantive bezel, highly polished. A dial produced out of a gold blank, silvered and guilloche decorated, with at least two patterns, Claude Paris at the center and a basket weave pattern at the off-center seconds dial. Both the hour and minute hands and the seconds hand are heat-blued stainless steel. The handset is Breguet's house style. The palm apple-shaped hands, and the Roman numerals are laid out on that Breguet frosted track. Roman numerals for the hours. Both the brand signature and the movement number are inscribed on the dial on a plaque. Again, classic dress watch by Breguet in a 40 millimeter yellow gold case and a solid case back, self-winding movement. This is the Breguet Classique with an off-center seconds time-only piece in yellow gold, reference 5140, lot 347, with about a week to go until closing, has not yet attracted any offers. But the starting bid could be $6,660 in US dollars. All right. Thank you for being here. And thank you for following this auction with me. If you have any questions, as always, please don't hesitate to get in touch with me. You can do that, of course, at Instagram. I'm going to put the link in the chat. I would really appreciate it if you could follow me there. You can, of course, always write to me at lordhellespont5@gmail.com. That's lordhellespont@gmail.com. The information is here. This channel is completely independent and autonomous, which means that I'm not in the pocket of anyone from the industry. Even though I present on all these auctions, I'm not employed by them. I don't have any sponsors, which again gives me a lot of liberty, a lot of freedom of choice, and allows me to present you my unadulterated opinion, and also allows me to serve you and you only. I'm only at the service of my audience. So if you would like to contribute to the channel, the information is there and included in the video description. It is also provided here in the chat. I've pinned it there as well and posted the links, and you can see the same information rolling in the crawling ticker. Any contribution is well appreciated. In either case, please hit the like button on the way out. That's already a lot of help. If you share the content, if you tell your friends, fellow collectors, and enthusiasts about it, that helps us extend the community, expand the community that we have started building here on pure passion for and profound knowledge of watches. I'm going to be back with you again soon with another live stream. There's so many more auctions coming up in New York and other online-based auctions that should be of great interest to a lot of the collectors. So stay tuned. If you have, again, any questions, any requests, feel free. If you check the Patreon there, I have a lot of exclusive content for the Patreon on a daily basis, where I put together at least three value propositions in terms of a particular model, a certain brand of a watch, or even a specific kind of complication. And a lot of these are incredible deals in their own rights, but whether you are actually seeking one of these watches or not, whether you would like to buy them at this point or not, since I always present my reasoning for making that particular kind of choice, a lot of that exclusive content ends up being very informative and very educational and quite detailed. So if you're interested in something like that, check out the link. I think the tiers are very clearly laid out. So if you would like to sign up, I would really appreciate that too. In either case, I love you. I look forward to seeing you soon. But until then, goodbye. I will get back to you sooner than later. Take care.